there's different standards that we're working to. So could you just explain some of the different standards then that you'd be looking at to try and educate the customer? Because they must come together in some way, but sometimes there's probably joining the dots in those two areas. So how would that look when you're on a client site?
Okay, so there are many standards that are produced by British Standards Institution, many of which are adopted from international standards. They cover all aspects of electrical systems and the earthing world in which we work, and height safety too.
Yeah.
But the ones that are particularly relevant are BS 7671, which is also known as the IET wiring regulations.
Yeah.
Currently the 18th edition, and I believe we've just had the 4th Amendment released. And that's the UK standard for everything to do with electrical installations. Yeah. So if you're going to put an electrical installation into a building, the way to do it safely is to meet the requirements of BS 7671.
Yeah.
BSEN IEC 62305 is our main core standard when we're talking about protecting against the effects of lightning. And that's the standard that's used to design, install and maintain a whole lightning protection system that includes, obviously, the surge protection element. 7671 has a section within it which also refers to the damage that lightning can do, but it is only concerned with the impact of that on its wiring systems.
Okay.
Whereas 62305 as a document considers all of the effects of lightning, including those effects on wiring systems. And it's concerned with all of the losses that can occur as a result of lightning activity.
Yeah. And because whenever you're talking to customers, sometimes like they getting their heads around the standards and about sometimes where they map across or where they don't. Do you ever get where people feel that they're in conflict with each other? And again, we have to educate customers. Just walk me through those conversations, because I'm guessing that must occur on a regular basis.
Yes, certainly when we're talking to someone who is more electrically biased, or indeed for electrical systems. Yeah. Maybe they're an electrical designer. They may well have never had sight of the document that we mainly work to for lightning protection, which is, again, BSEN IEC 62305. But the reason I think that people might think the documents conflict is because they really are written from a different risk perspective. Yeah. And they're usually implemented by those different industries. Okay. And it's great when you talk to a client who has knowledge of both documents. Yeah. Because both are equally important, and actually both say pretty much the same thing when it comes to the damage that surges can do. Yeah. It's just maybe where they impact, and that's where perhaps things are slightly different. Yeah. And people's knowledge as we talk to them hopefully grows. Yeah. And that's the point of doing these podcasts.
Absolutely. So that kind of takes me nicely to yourself then, Adam, in that I suppose we're the facilitator of all those conversations of how those standards blend together. So how do they work together when you're articulating that to a customer so that they're sort of going, the penny drops and now get how those two do join at the scene?
Yeah, so like Matt already mentioned, BS 7671, it's your fixed wiring regulations, electrical contractors or electrical people working on whatever electrical systems they may have in the buildings. Yep. It's all going to be to 7671 for the wiring regulations, but then you've got to, which is good because 7671 actually refers you to 62305. Yeah. And for anything where there's a potential for lightning risk. So they do complement each other quite well. Yeah. It's just, I think, a lack of probably an appreciation of the risk levels of what you're accounting for.
So that word comes out quite often, is it's about that risk level, that risk profiling. And I think, do you see, and we've talked about on previous podcasts, actually, we talked to him, I think, podcast 3 when we had Dave Willits on, we were talking about power earthing projects, and we got into quite a deep conversation about sometimes about when we're brought into the conversation, sometimes it's at the end rather than at the start. Do you see that's part of your conversations when you're coming in to look for these solutions, that you're having to take people back a little bit to some fundamentally is it maybe we've not joined those dots together? Is that your will too?
Yeah, absolutely. We get it quite a lot where we do have limitations in the sense of an electrical system or electrical installation has to be at a point where we can sort of come in and gauge and make sure that the correct types and the correct SPDs are in the correct places to manage those risks. But it is very much an issue, I think, in the industry is that lack of early engagement with specialists when it comes to lightning and surge protection.
Yeah. And then if that, then we talk about the designer and about how that works in practice. What dialogue do you have with designers? Is it much of a dialogue, or is it kind of that after the event and what's ever been designed will work into that program that's been designed?
Yeah, so we do try to get early engagement with designers.
Yeah,
and that is just to tackle a lot of the issues that come about after the fact.
Yeah,
I'd say we do have a lot more of coming in after the electrical installation has been designed and been installed. And really, we want to be more involved at that early stages to guide and help those designers who may not be familiar with BSE NIC 62305.
Yeah.
Electrical designers seem to concentrate mostly on the bit they are responsible for.
So we're just looking through that lens. Yeah. Okay.
And they're not maybe considering the wider thing. And for me, what they don't always perhaps fully appreciate is the effect that requirements of other standards might have, or indeed how they can impact on other wiring systems that they might not be responsible for. And therefore, it would be good if they had a wider understanding of what might be required, so that they can ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And then they're not surprised perhaps when we ask the right questions or when we ask them questions, and they don't wonder why we want to know the information.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, again, when we talked to some of the previous podcasts, we talked about that important word of collaboration and making sure stakeholder management's in play to make sure that a project runs really effectively. And I think things that you've just called out in some of those discussions there is ticking those boxes once again. So if we to think about then kind of a key takeaway from that discussion then when we talk about those two different standards, what should our listeners and people watching this podcast be thinking about?
Okay, so for me, the key takeaway is that surge protection is an important part of BS 7671, and it's an important part of BSE NIC 62305.
Yeah.
And both of those are very important documents.
Yeah.
Both need to be considered, even if the risks that each consider are different from each other. The outcome is that you will possibly install a device that will do and satisfy both of those documents.